Well, welcome back to the third Saturday in October show. I am Alabama Chris, looking at a very debonair and sexy Tennessee Bradley is all cinched up in the weight room. What's going on, Tennessee Bradley?
Well, I didn't have any paper bags to put over my head, so put on the hoodie, drew it up like I'm E.T. trying to sneak out, and I don't know. I mean, it's bad. Should we fire Jeremy Pruitt? We'll get to that. We'll get to my thoughts.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. We'll get to that. We'll get to all sorts of COVID talk. But Bradley, if you're watching on the YouTube feed, you can see this as we're talking about it. But if you're watching on or listening to it on the podcast, you may want to check out Bradley on our YouTube channel, because right now he's all cinched up like a football player that is not quite awake on a Monday morning after a game, just kind of like lumbering back and forth between classes.
Yeah, I don't know what to say, but but if you've got something to say, find us on social media at TSIO Pod on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Find us on YouTube. Check out our videos. Check out my awesome backgrounds. Check out my hoodie all cinched up so you can basically only see my nose. It's like a little sleeping bag. And go to thirdsaturdayiNoctober.com. There you can join our virtual tailgate that hopefully will be happening at 5:30 Central.
If we have games at all this weekend.
Right. Yeah. If we have that late game at 6:00, we'll be there. So sign up for that at thirdsaturdayiNoctober.com. You can also join our Pick'em League, and you can get our Tailgating 101 cheat sheet, all available at thirdsaturdayiNoctober.com. Look, there's a lot of football not being played. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about some conspiracy theories. We're going to talk about what should happen at Tennessee. And then, you know what? We're going to talk about some food, because, hey, if we can't be happy, we can at least not be hungry, right?
I could not have said it better than what you just said. I am glad that we have something to talk about, which in this world, this 2020 world of who knows what will happen, and everything probably will. We will dive into all the conspiracy theories, like you're saying, and what's left of a slate of games, which should have been really nice to watch this weekend, but we'll take what we can get. 3 games left as of the recording, and keep our fingers crossed that we at least have those.
Yeah. So this week, the SEC Tailgate Podcast for the rest of us becomes, once again, the SEC Conspiracy Theory Podcast for the rest of us. Let's jump right in.
Let's do it. Well, here we find ourselves in the middle of yet another spike in the COVID crisis of SEC football. We went from I was pumped last week. I was like, okay, we just had 4 games on the slate. It's going to be lean, but next week we get all 14 teams, 7 games back. And now all but 3 of those have been canceled. So due to COVID issues.
Yeah, I blame you. You jinxed it.
You're right.
You jinxed our wonderful weekend. It was the most exciting weekend since the SEC kicked off. And Alabama Chris jinxed it. You can thank him.
That is going to be my bad. But I will say this, though. Get ready for some horrible rest of the season things, because I believe if I go back and remember what I said last week, I was like, this is the last of our weeks where teams have a bye. So the rest of the season, it's going to be 7 games a week. So I just go ahead and apologize for future us's listening to this podcast when all the rest of the games for the season get canceled.
Right. Well, I did see that Sankey has gotten together with the ADs, or maybe it was just the ADs said, hey, we're okay with, pushing the season back to have more makeup dates at the end of the season. So, we'll see what happens. With the, looking at the curves, whatever curve you're looking at, it's not going to be good. Yeah. So it may be more weeks like this the 2020 football season may last well into 2023. Who knows? You only get to play one quarter every month. But
right. A socially distanced quarter where they just essentially are just playing old versions of NCAA football from EA Sports on
it's
the new PlayStation
true,
5s.
It's the true spread offense. If anybody gets within 6 feet of you, you're tackled.
I like that, actually. I'll take that. A true spread.
Yeah, playing flag football in college, it was, oh man, your flag could just fall off and you're tackled. It's like, what? Nothing happened. But,
right.
You have to carry the football like this because you can't flag guard, so you can't carry it like a regular football. I don't know. We'll do what we can.
I'd much rather play the spread offense, spreading it out with people distancing, spreading it out on just playing a quarter a week than having the spread of the COVID, the pandemic moving forward through. But it looks like that several teams and head coaches and everybody are testing positive, which, according to Lane Kiffin, he threw out I thought was a rather nice conspiracy theory a day or two ago, saying it's curious that some of these teams are not being able to play because of COVID, whereas you would think that, like, I was worried for my team. This is Lane Kiffin talking, but we had 0 tests come back positive. So he's wondering if people are actually taking injured players and saying they have COVID in order to not be able to field a 53-man scholarship roster. And so they get to have essentially another bye week.
Well, we may just have to be the SEC conspiracy theory podcast for the rest of us.
SECCT.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame him for thinking this.
Yeah.
Tennessee had their game postponed, but it wasn't because Tennessee had issues. Texas A&M did.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, Alabama hasn't had anything to worry about, so why would they try to get another buy a buy?
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like that from what I've heard from both the Alabama LSU camps that currently Alabama, and I say currently because things change every minute with all this stuff, but currently Alabama doesn't have any COVID issues, but LSU has quite a bit of COVID issues, enough to where they had to postpone the game. And I'm hearing things that maybe they got it going to Halloween parties, some of these student athletes. So,
oh my goodness.
Again, that may be rumor mill. I don't know exactly where I heard that source, but that is what I heard. So for what it's worth, I'm just going to call it a rumor at this point because I can't corroborate that trying to figure out the best lawyer word that I could come up with.
Right. Well, going to any sort of party is just not smart right now. If you play college football and you want to keep playing college football, do not go to parties. Trust me, as soon as the season's over in 2027, you can go to all the parties you want. But right now, just hang out. I mean, look, my background, Anderson Training Center, weight room.
Looking good, by the way.
Thank you. I ran around and cleaned it up right before we started.
Yeah, it looks very nice.
All the sweaty, nasty towels had, swept, vacuumed, all that. But anyways, these athletic facilities are huge. So they've got pool tables. They got video games. They probably have their own cafeterias in there too. I know most of these teams have their own nutritionists.
Yeah.
Multiple, probably. Why do you ever need to leave the training center?
Yeah. And I get it too. I understand. This year has been really rough on all of it. I'm bored to death sometimes, even with my new couch and my new TV to watch football on Saturdays. I get angry and aggravated and impatient because I want to go see games in person. You and I had plans to do a lot of tailgating at several different stadiums this year. So I get the frustration and the impatience of these student athletes wanting to try to have as much of a normal college experience as possible. But I agree with you. If, what we've been saying for months and months and months, that if we want a college football season, that everybody has to participate and go along with the rules. And it does seem that now, what are we in week 7 or 8 of, I guess, 7 of the SEC season, that you can tell that things they feel more lax than they did when we were really buckling down in August and September, trying to make sure that there was a football season to be had. And I say we, I mean, as a fan,
right.
And so I get the wearing down of the patience from these student athletes. But it is difficult now that we have only 3 games to watch and enjoy this weekend. And so many things that are implications of what this means for the future, because right now LSU's already had to skip a game because of postponement. I think the LSU Florida game was postponed. That was rescheduled for, I believe, the 12th of December. So now that they have the Bama game postponed also, are one or both of those games going to not be played? Because, as an Alabama fan, I would have loved to have played LSU on Saturday to be able to watch it and to see how we stack up against their talent level and all. But also, we're number 1 in the West right now, and it looks like Alabama has a clear path to winning the West to go to the SEC championship. So right now, playing LSU doesn't necessarily mean that much to me as a Bama fan.
Right.
So what do you do if you're Greg Sankey and the rest of the athletic directors and coaches and players? Like, do you even want to play this game?
I think you want to play a double header on the 12th.
Dang, that'd be.
and you flip a coin to see who you play first. Or maybe you just play halves. In Little League, when you've got a tournament and stuff gets rained out and now you got to play a double header. Well, you just play 5 innings instead of 7 or something like that. Just play a half against Florida, play a half against Alabama, and that's all you get. You just get 2 quarters instead of 2 halves.
I like that, actually. Yeah. Yeah, baseball, you guys are all used to it. And I say you because I know that you played baseball for a long time. And y'all are used to doubleheaders.
Yeah, bring it on. Look, not everybody can be as physically fit as a baseball player. Bartolo Colon, in particular, the human bowling ball. It takes a lot of work to be in that sort of a shape.
That is certainly true.
I did not say in shape, but in a shape.
In that kind of a shape. In the shape of a bowling ball.
Right. If he trips on the pitcher's mound, I mean, he just rolls right into the catcher and the umpire behind the plate. There's no stopping him.
But both sports, baseball and bowling, you can't get better than a strike.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of similarities there. So
yeah. And 300 is a good number because if you hit 300, that's pretty good. If you bowl 300, that's really good. If you hit a ball 300 feet, it's pretty good.
If you weigh 300, maybe not so
you're
good.
You're Bartolo Colon.
But at least you're number 1 in that category in your team. So
right. But yeah, so doubleheader was something that I read. Really funny. I don't know. It's going to be tough. How's that going to affect the championship game, college football playoffs?
Yep.
Everything's getting moved around. Who knows? But we'll see. We just got to be patient. It may get worse as it's starting to cool off in the South. It may get worse because this is a respiratory illness. Respiratory illnesses happen more when it's colder. I don't know. Wear a mask.
Yes, please do. Speaking of weight rooms and respiratory illness, not long before we went live here, I went to Costco to get a couple things for the family. And as I'm walking in,
good old Costco. I love it.
As I was walking in, fully masked, socially distanced, just want to, say it out loud. I'm walking through the front area and I feel a mist, and I look up, and the person is cleaning the buggies, the carts that used at Costco, cleaning those down with like a spray mister, and I got misted with the cleaning fluid, and I keep waiting for my shirt or my pants to like start showing that speckle if you get sprayed by Clorox.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, so maybe it's not that. But then I'm leaving and pushing my cart out again, mask on, socially distanced, get sprayed again. So there's a lot. Like
same side, or now are you fully disinfected?
Oh no! Now I'm fully disinfected.
Okay,
so the
good.
front side I'm walking in, I get it from here, and then as I'm leaving, same dude with the same sprayer hits me on the other side. So I'm getting his kind of like off spray. So I know that his aim was true, but the wind kicked up at Costco, and I got the after effects of what didn't hit the buggies.
Yeah, I've had that problem. You know, what do they say about peeing into the wind?
What I'm afraid of, though, is the fact that, like, I didn't hear anybody else in Costco mentioning that they got sprayed. Maybe they were just kind of aiming at me. So maybe they know something that I don't, that they're trying to, like, delouse me or something.
Get this guy. He's an Alabama fan. Well, you know, they've got those big garage doors. They could just have a mist falling of some sort of disinfectant to just cleanse you as you walk in and out of Costco.
Hey, I'm all for it. If we can bring back the samples to Costco, I'd walk through some mist of cleaner fluid. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you have to get your samples to go. So, all right. Can I try out this mattress? Can I take it to go? And
right. You just cinch it up on your shoulder and walk out like an old school 80s boombox.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Costco's, Costco has a great return policy, and I think Tennessee fans are wishing they had a return policy on Jeremy Pruitt.
Oh man, I know this is a serious or at least sad thing for a Vols fan, but that was quite the
transition.
Yeah, that was quite the transition, my friend.
Well, I talk about return policies with my child all the time. Unfortunately, his is expired, and the store is not taking him back. So,
store or stork?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
He's much too big for the stork now. After the Arkansas game. Tennessee Twitter, Tennessee social media is blowing up with fire Jeremy Pruitt. I was one of the last ones to say, okay, it's time for Butch Jones to go. I don't think that it's time for Jeremy Pruitt to go. And a lot of it has to do with he's still playing Garantano. A lot of it has to do with the defense is just underperforming this year. And I think everybody just needs to calm their jets. Look, we knew that Pruitt wasn't focusing on the quarterback position at the very beginning. I mean, he thought he had a decent quarterback. Number 2, number 3 dual threat quarterback in the class in Garantano, bringing in Chris Winkie and Jim Chaney. Thought, okay, these two guys can make Garantano a viable quarterback, and just hadn't happened. He tried Marr and Shrout last year. That didn't do any better, so he had to go back to Garantano. We get Harrison Bailey this year, but I'm not a big fan of playing true freshman quarterbacks, especially when our O-line was supposed to be just amazing and has been kind of average. That's a recipe for getting your quarterback hurt.
That's true. Yeah.
So right now, Garantano's going through concussion protocol. Harrison Bailey, I think, is going to be the guy. But I don't know. Here's how I'm judging it. I'm seeing Pruitt's guys come in, play well. So I'm looking at Henry To'oTo'o, a stud middle linebacker. Quavarius Crouch is a great linebacker. This Jalen Hyatt receiver, he caught a touchdown pass against Alabama. He's fast. He runs a sub 4.40, kind of without breaking a sweat, which is what the Tennessee receivers of old used to do. They used to just go get track stars and teach them to catch football. But I see some positives. But my biggest question is play calling. What the heck is Jim Chaney doing when you've got Eric Gray? I was telling you before we got started, he's not quite on that Alvin Kamara, Reggie Bush level, but he's a home run threat anytime he touches the ball. Ty Chandler's been a little banged up the last few games. So he played one snap against Arkansas. And then it was Eric Gray and our true freshman Small, who got most of the playing time. Just run the ball.
Yeah.
My high school coach said 4 + 4 + 4 equals first down.
That's true. Again, it's not as sexy as a quarterback with a deep threat, but if you don't have that tool in your arsenal, then you have to look at other ways to get into the end zone. And I agree with you. I feel like that they should be looking at the running game much more.
Yeah. It's get the ball in the hand of your playmakers, which right now you don't have a quarterback who's a playmaker.
Yeah.
So you've got it's a 5-step drop, throw it deep to Jalen Hyatt if you're going to throw it. Palmer is a great receiver too. He's just not as fast as Jalen Hyatt, I don't think. I don't know. The biggest thing on defense is we can't defend the slant. I don't know what that's about. I don't know if that's our linebackers are great run stoppers, but just not great in coverage, or if our corners are just not playing well, which we've had some injuries in the secondary. So that's kind of messed some things up too. But I'm not ready to return Jeremy Pruitt just yet.
Yeah, I agree with you. Again, I think that there are other coaches in the SEC, specifically Will Muschamp at South Carolina, who I could see that conversation being much more of an actuality in 2020 with all of what's going on. But I mean, you and I talked about this run that they've had the last month of games that Tennessee has played, of being a very difficult run. I mean, at the time that you all played Georgia was what, third in the nation?
Yeah.
And then just 2 weeks later, they played Alabama, who was ranked second in the nation at that point. And so those two games were going to be difficult regardless of the outcome. And then you've got Kentucky, who was between when you played Georgia and when you played Alabama. They're ranked right now, the first defense in the SEC.
Yeah.
And so you can see there where you have a top-rated defense in Kentucky, which, again, some of this is like recency bias. It's hard to think of Tennessee struggling against a Kentucky or struggling against an Arkansas, which is why I chose Tennessee to cover the spread and to win the game last week, which is because it's hard. It was hard for me to think Tennessee's going to lose to Arkansas. But Arkansas is playing lights out right now, which is very uncharacteristic of late.
True.
And then Kentucky and their defense, and if you've got a Tennessee struggling offense and a Kentucky overperforming defense, at least as far as reputation goes, it's going to be difficult to, when you look at the L in the win-loss bracket, to see that. But they've lost 4 in a row, but to two teams that they were supposed to lose to, in quotes, and then 2 teams that are overperforming this year. And so I can understand the frustration as a Tennessee fan, but I think that I'm more in your version of the Tennessee fan of like, I don't think we're there yet of closing the book on the Jeremy Pruitt era.
Yeah. I think if if there were to be a big shakeup at the end of the season, look, Jeremy Pruitt's already fired his defensive line coach. So Jeremy Pruitt will be hiring a new defensive line coach at the end of the season. If it were me, if I'm looking at something, it's Jim Chaney, even before Chris Winkie, the quarterback's coach. I think it may have been that Garantano has hit his ceiling. Maher got concussions last year and is probably still. He may be trying to force the issue a little too much. Harrison Bailey threw a couple interceptions late against Arkansas. One was the last play of the game. Who cares? You're gambling big there. The other one, I mean, that's what's going to happen with a true freshman quarterback. But also there was blatant pass interference on that play that didn't get called, which actually caused the interception. So, going forward, I think put in Harrison Bailey if he can take the hits. That's my biggest issue. I don't want him to get hurt and then we got nobody. But I don't know. I want to see what happens. I think you got to give a coach at least 5 years, especially when it's been turnover like this at Tennessee. That's the biggest problem is we cut them loose too early. And there's just no consistency.
And again, like you were saying a second ago, well, first of all, I want to give you props for, you said this several weeks ago, talking about maybe Garantano's hit his ceiling. And so I don't think this is a surprise to you at all, but in that same breath, like, what do you do? What do you do when you don't have another weapon other than to, like, handing it off? Again, it's not as sexy. It's more vanilla if you don't have a passing game and a running game. But if that's all you have, you're going to be more one-dimensional, but you got to use what you have. And I don't know that the coaches are utilizing that as much as it seems like we know that Garantano may not be the quarterback that would have been great to have for Tennessee. And you got a 2020 schedule that you're hitting. You've got 4 games out of 10 that you're playing that are ranked 6th in the country or better. Playing Florida, you're playing A&M. Supposedly playing A&M if that game is made up. You got Bama, you got Georgia, and then you have teams like Arkansas and Kentucky that are doing a lot better, maybe than people had the idea for us. That's 6 out of 10 games right there. So, again, with Florida and A&M still potentially on the calendar, it's going to be a rough slog for the rest of the season. But again, I don't know that is all on Pruitt's head.
And don't forget, Auburn, I believe, is ranked 21 right now.
Yeah.
And we play them in a week. So our remaining schedule was supposed to be A&M this week, Auburn next week, Vandy, Florida. Right now it's looking like Auburn, Vandy, Florida, A&M.
Yeah.
No matter what order you put those in, it's not going to be pretty. And who knows what's going to happen against Vanderbilt. They may be looking at Tennessee as, hey, we can avoid going defeated this year and going defeated in the SEC because Tennessee seems to be going in the wrong direction. I think people have forgotten that there was no fall camp, really. It was kind of an accelerated fall camp. Spring practice got cut short. But you didn't have opportunities for the Jalen Hyatts and the Harrison Baileys to come in and really get good workouts with their fellow teammates until much later. And here's something else to keep in mind with Harrison Bailey. This may be why he hadn't played much yet. He was out for multiple weeks on COVID contact tracing protocol during fall camp. So I don't know that he made more than 3 or 4 practices before the season kicked off.
Wow.
So his development is just a little behind because of that. There's only so much that film will help you. I mean, if you watch all the film, but you never actually get out there and throw with your teammates, you're not going to come out there and be Peyton Manning.
Yeah, there's a rhythm. There's a breaking in period with a quarterback and a receiver core that you have to have regardless of how much success you have. So frustrating days, and looks like it's going to be a frustrating year with what's left on the schedule. But Vandy does seem like if you got a for sure thing, it's Vandy this year. And then also, you never know what Auburn, how they're going to show up. I'm still a little surprised. And again, this isn't my Bama homer side coming out with my cross-state rival, but I still don't understand with how inconsistent Auburn is, how they have that top 25 ranking, but not for me to decide.
Well, Texas A&M has been inconsistent under Jimbo Fisher. That they could have 2-3 great weeks and then just fall flat on their face. It has happened before. I was hoping that they might fall flat on their face this week, but that's, I mean, I guess they kind of did. They fell on their COVID face, but I don't know. I say my vote is don't fire Jeremy Pruitt yet. Don't fire him this season. Give him a couple more years. See what happens. Everybody was saying when he came on, he has to rebuild this program from the ground up. He's got to put in a new culture. There are growing pains with that. So just your gut, these are the pains, but we're growing.
Certainly true. And I think that's well said. Hey, just as a bit of a sad note before we move on to what's going on in other games coming up in last week as well. Kentucky offensive line coach John Sklarman passed away. I believe that was today. He's only 45 and had cancer. And from what I read in the article, again, I don't keep up with a lot of Kentucky news, but it seems like that he was still on the sidelines just over a month ago. So coached really close up to the end. And then 2 weeks ago against Tennessee, was there to receive the game ball, but passing away from cancer at age 45. Sad for the Kentucky Wildcats.
Very sad. So thoughts and prayers go out to the Kentucky Wildcats, but also his close friends and family as well.
Yeah, agreed.
So that is sad news. So moving on to this week.
Yeah.
I mean, there aren't a whole lot of picks to make, but let's make these picks and kind of talk about these games. Because it will take all of about 30 seconds.
Hey, the positive news is we do have an 11 a.m. game this week for the SEC, which we did not have last week because of bye weeks. So it's going to be nice. It's Vandy, Kentucky. I mean, if we're making picks, I feel like that I know which way you're leaning, but I'll at least ask. Who do you think is going to take this one? It looks like that Kentucky's got a 17.5 point lean. So do you think that they score that and more?
Yeah, I'm going with Vanderbilt here.
Ooh, okay.
And mainly it's because I don't know that Kentucky – it's going to be hard for Kentucky to score a lot of points. And so even if Kentucky scores 24, if Vanderbilt gets a touchdown and a field goal, they cover the spread. I mean, I don't know that Kentucky keeps Vandy from scoring at all. So I'm going with Vanderbilt to cover on this one.
Ooh, okay. Well, I would bet against you and go with Kentucky here. I feel like there are a couple of things. One, as we talked about a little bit earlier, with Kentucky's defense being the, for what it's worth, the number one defense in the SEC right now. And again, I don't know if that is statistically like what the stats are, whether it's like a pass defense or rushing situation for them or what they can do at the line. But it seems like that their defense is firing on all cylinders, even though they are only 2-4 on the season. And then also with the news of their offensive line coach passing, wonder if they're going to kind of, play for the Gipper, so to speak, and show out on offense. And so I'm choosing Kentucky here. I think that they may win, and they have the potential, again, because it's Vandy, to win big, I think.
Right. That is true. Vandy, who's been hit harder than anybody with opt-outs.
Yeah.
For COVID.
Yeah, true.
So
true.
Not a bad pick either way.
Yeah, true. Well, we have an 11 a.m. in that Kentucky Vandy game. We also have an 11 a.m. kickoff at this point over on ESPN. Number 12, Georgia, going into Missouri, Columbia, and playing the Mizzou Tigers. It looks like that right now that Georgia is favored by 11.5.
I don't know what's going on with Georgia's offense. So I'm going with Missouri to keep it. I still think Georgia wins, but I think Missouri keeps it within 10 points, around 10 points. I'm picking the Tigers, the SEC Tigers.
That's the SEC Tigers. I like that. Yeah, that's a really good point. I am choosing Georgia here. By the only exception is I think that they may be able to be a 2-touchdown favorite over Missouri. But I could have very well chosen Missouri for very similar reasons that you just said, because Missouri just has to get within 11.5 points to spoil that spread. But I'm curious because we've got a Missouri team that's 2-3 right now. Isn't really vying for a lot. Doesn't have a ton to play for other than just pride for the rest of the season, so to speak. They're not like vying for the top spot in the SEC right now, the SEC East. I'm sorry, but Georgia also may be looking at the rest of the season for themselves. And knowing all of the issues that they've had at quarterback of late, I wonder if we see some experimentation on Georgia's part, trying to put some different schemes together, maybe some different guys rotating in and out of the quarterback position, and using this maybe as a stopgap game to figure out what's going on at quarterback moving on for the rest of the season. But even with that, I feel like that they may have the weapons to cover the spread there. So I'm choosing Georgia. Yeah. And then we have a lot of postponed games in between then. I don't know what we're going to do for a CBS game of the week, because it looks like that right now our next and final game of the SEC slate is on ESPN at 6:00 Central, Arkansas versus Florida in Gainesville.
Yeah. As hot as Arkansas is, I think Florida wins big. 17.5, I don't think is enough. I think Florida wins even bigger than that. Kyle Trask with weapons, it's hard to keep up, much less beat. So I'm going Florida here.
Yeah, I agree. I'm choosing Florida as well. Although this is a really exciting game to watch. Again, Felipe Franks was at Florida, now is at Arkansas, and also with Arkansas's coach not being able to be there because of COVID as well. I think Barry Odom is stepping up to do head coaching duties for in an interim basis for the week. But I still think that, Florida's got so much that they've got going on right now, so much potential, so much momentum, so many dynamic players going off right now. I think that they take this one and take it handedly, although I would love to see a much closer game. Because it'd just be a fun one to watch. But I agree with you. So it looks like that you and I are choosing just that game in lockstep, and all the other games are choosing opposite sides. So it'll be interesting to see who takes it home this week in the TSIO Pick'em League, because number one from last week, I'm looking right at him. 4-0, brother. How does that feel?
Disappointing, because I picked Arkansas to win. To cover, and I actually said I thought they would outright win. And I wanted to be wrong, but I wasn't. So bittersweet. I'm still in 5th place. It did not help me move up at all.
I was expecting a celebration speech or something, but like, man, you can't celebrate. Apparently, you gotta. There's so much that went wrong last week, or trying to make up for the season, that you can't enjoy that victory.
Yeah, it's a bit like the next to last game of the season. You're Vandy. You haven't won a game yet. You win one, but it's not against a rival. It's just a win. It's kind of like, yeah, that's great, but we're now just ending the year 1-9 instead of 0-10.
And you may win, but then one of your running backs goes down with a pulled hamstring, won't be back for the rest of the season, kind of thing. So it's like you're right. It's a hollow victory.
Yeah. So, but hey, if this game actually happens between Arkansas and Florida at 6 p.m., join our virtual tailgate a few minutes before, around 5:30 Central Time. Just hang out. Hopefully we'll get to watch some football. And we'll have a grand old time. So go to thirdsaturdayiNoctober.com to sign up and make your picks for this week's, right now, 3 games. Let's hope we get 3. Let's hope they shuffle the schedule. Hey, that'd be great. 1 at 11, 1 at 2:30, 1 at 6. Great. Don't have to flip channels and
be very respectable.
You don't have to wear out that last button on your remote. So, but all right, we don't have a lot to watch, but we do have something to watch.
We do have something. You're right.
So, Chris, I'll take it for you because I know last week you had some trouble.
I knew it.
Let's pregame.
Tailgate, man cave, living room, pregame, burgers, ribs, chicken wings, chip and dip, pregame, scotch and a lot of IPA, Coca-Cola, pregame, slaying darts, cornhole, pregame. How you gonna watch?
Yeah, you're right. I was sitting here. I was like, he's going to ask me, don't say tailgate, say pregame. And I was all ready for you to say it and then me to mess up and say tailgate. So that was fun too.
Just like Jeremy Pruitt doesn't want to put in his freshman quarterback to mess it up. We'll just let the senior stay in and not go anywhere. So
no, I love that you called an audible at the line there and said that you would take care of it for me, because I cannot be trusted with
Omaha. Yeah, here we go.
Blue 42. Yeah.
So Chris, what are you doing this weekend?
I have no idea, to be honest with you. I feel like that I was all ready for a day at home in front of the TV, getting all pumped to watch football all day. And I guess I still could conceivably do that, but with only 3 SEC games to watch, it's a little less exciting than I wanted it to be. So who knows? Maybe this is one of those days where I actually pay attention to my family instead of just paying attention to the TV all Saturday in the fall. But so right now it's up in the air. But we were actually even going to have people over on Saturday. Some family members were going to come over, and that looks like that's not happening now. So all my plans have gone out the window. So if anybody needs me to come wash some windows, maybe trim your hedges, I can do that, and I can listen to some games in my earbuds. So everything's up in the air at this point. What about you, man?
Well, that's not a bad idea. If football gets canceled, I got some things that I love to watch on Disney Plus.
Ooh.
Look, we've mentioned it before. I'm just going to go ahead and mention it again. We got another podcast. It's called The Mouse and Men. We explore the grown-up side of Disney. I've got Disney Plus, and we've talked about it several times on that podcast. A couple shows that I'm really into: Drain the Oceans. It's a National Geographic. So if I can't watch football Saturday night, I'm going to be watching that. They take the latest scanning technology and look at shipwrecks in the ocean. So you can get this picture of what it would be like to drain the ocean and see this shipwreck out in the sunlight. Also, the magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom. It's another cool one just about how they take care of animals in one of the coolest zoos that you'll ever see. So yeah, if football fails, I'm just going to be watching that with the family. Otherwise, I'll just be kicking it on the virtual tailgate Saturday night.
That's a good plan. I mean, like if you do have Disney Plus, it's possible that you have the whole bundle with Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. And if you want to do that, you can go find your way over to some old Peyton Place episodes and watch Peyton Manning break down some great game film.
It is so great. There's a lot of great stuff on ESPN Plus. Peyton's Places, Detail, where I know.
Yeah.
I think Peyton broke down Patty Mahomes. Don't get mad at me, Mama Mahomes. I know his name's Patrick. What else is on there? The college football 150th anniversary, Saturdays in the South.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before. That's a great thing to just scratch that college football itch.
Yeah.
A lot of great options. Go watch.
And some great SEC 30 for 30s as well.
Yeah. Go watch Remember the Titans again.
There you go.
Always a classic. So yeah, that I think like you, just a little more laid back. Right now we've got 3 games. As soon as we finish this, it could be 2. We may have none by the time Saturday rolls around. Who knows?
Well, you know what? I just will say this. I am appreciative of the fact that we are actually here and we do have football to talk about. I know that it was just, it seems like a handful of days ago, but now 2-3 months back, we didn't even know if we'd have a football season or an SEC slate of games. But we've so far had a wonderful season going into week 7 here, where we've had very little hiccups in the whole scheme of things. And so hopefully this is a bump in the road and we have a good rest of the season to look forward to. But I am thankful that we do have football to be watched in November. And with Thanksgiving coming right around, that's what I'm going to bring up at the family Thanksgiving thing. It's like, I had football. It may not have been a perfect season, but I did have football.
Well, hey, Tennessee and LSU fans may be saying, I kind of wish we didn't have football this year, but, and as we're talking about tailgate pregame, I know we didn't talk about this before. We've got our, top of the tailgate tournament of treats.
Nice.
Last week, it was meat of choice. We had burgers, dogs, wings, and ribs. I believe it's neck and neck with dogs and wings. So we'll have to bring those back up here soon as we kind of round out the season. We'll see how long it takes. So Chris, what topic do we want to cover? Because we haven't talked about this. We'll designate the choices after the show, but what should we vote on this week in our top of the tailgate tournament of treats?
Because good question.
We've done dips. We've done chips.
Yep.
We've done drinks. We've done meat of choice. Trying to think what we haven't covered.
You know what? So last week we talked about like an entree, like it's burgers, it's dogs, it's wings, it's ribs. Maybe what we can do is like, what goes on the side of that? We had meat of choice last week. This week we can do side of choice.
I'm seeing like baked beans and mac and cheese.
Potato salad,
I like this.
And all those good tailgating options.
Yeah. So side of choice.
Love it.
Find us at TSIO Pod on the Twitter. Go to the Twitter and vote for your favorite there. We'll have some choices for you for your favorite side.
And
Chris,
you know what? Talking about the third Saturday in October, top of the tailgate tournament of treats. Like all of this is ramping up to at the end, closer to the end of the season. We'll take all of these winners from all these categories and then pit them together to come up with the ultimate tailgating food. So that's what we're heading towards. So this tournament of treats is not just we'll choose once a week and then we'll move on. We're going to take all these winners, bring them all together. So we want to hear from you. if you're listening to this right now, go over to Twitter, check it out. Mr. Bradley keeps it going all week long, so we can choose what we need to make sure things are going on. So go find the Twitter at TSIO Pod and choose what you think is the weekly third Saturday in October, top of the Tailgate Tournament of treats.
Yes, and be ready during bowl season to vote for all the winners to see who comes out on top. 100%. Alabama Chris, any final thoughts this week as we really stumble into the weekend with only 3 games on the slate right now?
I got one thought on my mind: wear a mask. Who knows if it's actually something that you need to do, if it's become politicized now, but I know that the one thing that I can do is put a mask on when I'm around other people and try to give myself some distance. So just take care of yourself, take care of others, and let's have a good rest of our SEC football season. What about you, Tennessee Bradley?
I agree with you. Wear a mask, even if it doesn't actually keep you from inhaling the particles. It keeps you from touching your face, which is what really causes this thing to spread. So
there you go.
Wear a mask, be safe, and as always, roll balls.
Roll balls, baby.